Hey, hey. Hi, guys. Welcome back. All right. So it is late, I know, but Mondays are busy days. Anyway, I still wanted to get a chance to say hi to everybody. Let's get into a love message. Happy Monday, by the way. So we're mixing things up a little bit again. And I was in the mood to cool stuff off, hence the backdrop with the trees in the forest. Hey, hey. Good to see you, the light. And I kind of wanted to do maybe a little peek at, since this is murky, let's take a peek at whatever is not necessarily in the forefront, but more what is in either the subconscious or what is the unspoken thing that somebody is thinking about, but in the context of love. Hi, everyone. So wonderful to see you all. Um, with the Four of Pentacles here, we've got a masculine and he stands here. This is normally a card that we can call the hoarder's card. Somebody who holds things back, holds back energy. But you notice how he's trying to keep things balanced, but he's got a mask over here and he's got this tree of life that's growing all the way up through the scales. And I always think of this card as like somebody who's hiding an awful lot. What they're holding back is the truth of their situation. They could be far more beholden to or embedded in like a family with that tree of life, but they are definitely trying to live a second life here with that mask. Okay. Got the Justice card in the reverse. The thing is, they don't feel bad about this. They don't feel like they're doing anything wrong. And I'm not trying to say, well, they should feel bad. I'm not trying to say it like that, but with an Ace of Pentacles upright, they're saying what I'm not telling possibly my family is that I'm planning to have a new beginning and I'm entitled to do that. Might I wear a mask? Yes. Might I not tell my family this? Yes. Am I entitled to do what I need to for myself? Yes. And I would agree. You're an adult. You get to do what you wish. He could be a Libra. He could be an earth sign. He could be planning on having a new beginning with an earth sign feminine who looks great in red. She could have dark hair, doesn't have to. But this definitely feels like what's in his subconscious is I'm not going to say a word. I'm not going to tell anybody what I'm doing, but I am definitely going to be doing. We have the Fool card. Fool card is it's that big leap of faith forward. It's somebody who wants to go in a certain direction. This feels, especially with the moon behind her, this keeps feeling like a secret. Also, we keep seeing something up behind this feminine. Right here, it's the pentacle. Here, it's the moon. I'm wondering if there's, because I'm hearing Beyonce, I can see your halo. I'm wondering if he has like this idea that this person is quite angelic. This is the person he sees having a new beginning with. This is the person he pictures taking this leap of faith to gravitate toward. Let's get another card on this. The Devil. To have somebody who's got these lovely intentions and doesn't feel bad about it at all, but then is this like, I'm kind of obsessed with this. I definitely want to move toward her. I just don't know if she even knows this with that Fool card. Or it definitely feels like they're keeping secrets. It's interesting that this person is like, I'm totally justified in keeping secrets or keeping my business about my future. But then we bring in the Devil, and I almost think that I don't know if they're going to like great extents to keep what their plan is secret. Wow, we have the Sun. They've told one person, I'm going to marry. I'm going to marry her anyway. I'm hearing that song, Rude by Magic. The Sun is like, I'm very clear on this. I don't get a bad vibe from the Devil card, but I do feel like even here, it's like whispering a secret. I'm going to tell one person, one confidant what I'm doing, and I'm not telling anybody else. My family can't know. I don't want to tell anybody, but I'm going to go to the person that I love and I'm going to marry that person. That's how this is coming across. And you're the only person I'm telling. Is this just what's on their mind? Or is this what is this hidden undercurrent, right? With all the fogginess behind me, it could just be the hidden undercurrent. But let's take a look. We've got the Knight of Wands in the reverse, so they're definitely not operating as a player. This is not some harebrained scheme where they're just going to come in, to somebody's life and pretend that they want to be in their life. They may be leaving behind a karmic. We've got the Queen of Wands in the reverse. Can I see the context of why are you holding stuff back and feeling like I'm allowed to? I'm guessing it's maybe because of that Queen of Wands card, but let's look a little closer. The Star in the reverse, because this isn't healed. This isn't what I want. This isn't my wish. This isn't anything at all about what my life is supposed to be. And I'm allowed to admit that. This is somebody who has not been happy from what I can tell. So I think we have this masculine, or we'll say it that way because that's what we see on the card first. We have a masculine who's like, they've either been hiding what unhappiness they have had. And I will say on this particular Justice card, we see this little dude escaping. And he may have come to the conclusion that it's time. If I don't just leave and do what is right for me and what I'm permitted to do, I'm allowed to go. I could see why he wouldn't be saying it, because in this story, sorry to bring up big drama, but a Queen of Wands in the reverse is not a fun individual to deal with. A Queen of Wands in the reverse, very, very controlling, feels entitled to be controlling, feels like they can get away with that. And obviously that is not fair. It's not, anytime somebody like latches on and says, we're going to do what they say, whether or not we like it, they've stepped across a boundary. So I can understand why he's like, I don't have to tell anybody nothing. I'm a sovereign person. I will keep it to myself. What my plan is, I will wear a mask and I will exit stage left. So tell me about who she is that you seem to want to go to, because you want this new beginning. We can see that. Empress in the reverse. I have a hard time believing he's going off to go meet another karmic that he's thinking is his new beginning. So I'm guessing this is either perhaps the Empress that he didn't make his Empress, but we got this 8 of Swords in the reverse. Did you not think she was the right person for you at one point? Or hang on, because something has changed. He's no longer stuck. Maybe he thought, I can't ever marry her. We got the Knight of Cups. So when we talk about her and we keep seeing new energy, this is my leap of faith. This is my escape. This is the person I want to be with. And I'm trying to ask, like, what was the situation with her? And it's like, well, once upon a time, I either was told I couldn't be with her, I was told that I wasn't allowed to, or I didn't see how I could ever be with her and be able to marry her. But now that restriction is lifted and I can go toward her with heart and hands. Sweet. I love it. You're awesome. Coming through with the lyrics. We got the Page of Wands in the reverse. This is them saying, and this is not some like juvenile, I'm just going to escape and go get with some other person. Like, they are insisting this is a very mature, very fleshed out plan. This is them, this is not going to be some overnight or like weekend thing. This is a real deal. This is my intention. I'm traveling toward her Saturday morning, put on his best suit. I'm quoting those lyrics now. Race like a jet over there to you. This just feels like they are very certain. So why the Devil? Because the Devil card is still throwing me over there. Why the Devil? We got the High Priestess. We got the Hierophant. We get the Wheel of Fortune in the reverse. Because deep down, they already know, okay, this is crazy. This is crazy, but bear with me. They're going to try to get married before anybody even knows about this. They're going to push to go get married before the family finds out, before anybody can, whatever, speak now or forever hold your peace. And they're like, we're not even giving them that option. Because this says deep down, I already know this is the woman I should have married a long time ago. And yeah, it isn't maybe the right time to just pop in and propose, but this is what I wish I could do, or this is what I'm going to try to do. And that's why it's a little toxic, because it's like, whoa, that could really feel like you are doing something very extreme. You know, the pendulum is swinging. Wait a second. You weren't with me. You apparently were with a karmic. You've left the karmic. You're racing over. And now you're like, you want to get married? I could see how that would come across as like, this is not good. This is too extreme. Even though the intentions, I think, are sincere, and the clarity that they have, like, I should have married you such a long time ago. This was my person. This is the person I always wanted to be married to. So even if maybe it's not the right time, maybe it doesn't make sense. But on the other hand, I want to do it anyway. My feelings are there, always were. Let me ask one more time, though, with the Wheel of Fortune in the reverse and the Devil talking about, yikes, this may not be the best time for them to do something so impulsive. Page of Cups, yeah, maybe they do need to lead with an apology instead of a ring. This kind of says you need to slow down maybe a little bit, because this feels too fast. Yeah, apologize and present yourself like an emperor perhaps first, and then see about, perhaps getting this person to be on board with you and asking, can I date you, and maybe rebuilding a connection. It feels way too soon for them to come rushing in to then say, I want to marry you. That could even be an epic disaster, because it could feel weird to this Ace of Pentacles person. Let me just ask, as far as this storyline goes, why are you in such a rush to say, but I want to marry them? Why? We get the Five of Swords sideways. It is kind of like a knee-jerk reaction. It's like, because I have been prevented for so long from being able to do the thing that my heart wanted. I've been stopped for so long. I've been kept apart from the person I loved for so long. And finally, like, I just don't want that to happen again. So I want to get it in stone that we are together. So I want long-term already, arranged, because I don't want any more problems. Okay, but hang on, because I got to ask about that Queen of Wands in the reverse. How is it that you had a Queen of Wands in the reverse, and then somehow we're like, well, I can never marry this Empress? We have a Nine of Pentacles. We have a King of Swords. Unless this is somebody else saying, we have the Star. I don't get it. Seven of Pentacles. Okay, this could have been a scenario where at one point in time it didn't matter that they had a karmic that they were with. They may not have even lived with that karmic. They may have, for all intents purposes, maybe the karmic was like, I don't want to live with you. Are you kidding me? We got nothing. I want to be footloose, fancy free. I want to be at a distance from you. You can be at a distance from me, but we're staying married because this looks great on paper. Maybe I get a certain amount of money out of this. I have the freedom to do what I want. That works for me. So that's how this is going to be. This is all just perfect for me. And this has been like what the future was going to be. We stay married, but I get to be single. We stay at a distance. It all works. You maintain your position in whatever the community. We look good as a married couple, but we don't actually have to interact. And that's my wish come true. That's how this comes across, which I could understand also from a Queen of Wands in the reverse. As long as she's getting what she wants, she can be happy. Whether or not it bogs down both of their chances to maybe go and end up in a loving and committed relationship with other people. She might be like, no, I like the comfort zone. I have my freedom to do what I want, but I also have money and I have the security of being able to reference, my partner, but I also get to do whatever I want. I got the best of all worlds. That didn't seem to be so true for him, but this is how it was laid out. And it was laid out for a long time. Like there was some kind of either agreement that was laid out for a long time. That Seven of Pentacles shows passage of time. So let me just ask, How is it that you're able to escape now after keeping kind of poker face about this? Page of Wands sideways. All I can say is he's taken the one exit moment he sees, but this says either he just maybe finally decided, I don't care, I'm breaking off, I'm taking off. We got the shadow side. It feels like there was some huge event that occurred. I don't know if there was like somebody had a big old meltdown. This is the devil again, but I don't know if he had a big old meltdown, if somebody else had a big old meltdown, and then it became, one of those situations where it's like that kind of opened up a doorway, changed something. He seems to be the one who's like grabbing his head, acting like, I can't do this anymore. This is too stressful. But I'm wondering, I'm not saying it was staged, but in this storyline, we definitely have somebody who found a way to like take a crowbar and pry a door open, an escape hatch for themselves. I just don't know what method they used, other than it looks like there was something where we've reached a crescendo of toxicity. We have a Knight of Wands. Four of Cups. I keep feeling like they had a big old meltdown, and I don't know if they finally just said that I have a huge regret, or if they went out and cheated and then we're like, hey, this is, this is over for us. And, that's fine, because now she's like, I don't think I want this anymore either. I mean, I guess it could be, but it looks like can't quite put my finger on this. He either went ahead and said, I fell in love with somebody else in like a moment of a meltdown, and that maybe like created that, well, then maybe you should leave. But I'm surprised, because I wouldn't think that a Queen of Wands in the reverse would necessarily release anybody unless it suited her to do so. Now, she could have still been jealous and controlling and not wanted them to have fallen for somebody else, even though she didn't want them herself. I could picture that with that kind of energy. We got the High Priestess. There was definitely some meltdown moment. There was definitely some kind of big reveal. I don't know if they just came clean and said that they cheated or something, and that they really feel bad that they cheated, not to the Queen of Wands, but that they feel bad because that's the person they wanted to be with. There's some kind of big understanding at a really profound level that it's like, oh, you wish you were someplace else. That's the only way I can say this. And they are like, if there's this moment where that Queen of Wands is releasing them, maybe she even thought, oh, they'll never find somebody else anyway. Of course they're going to stay with me. And they're like, I did find somebody else, and I loved that person. And this could be the moment that she's like, okay, I'm cutting you loose. You can go. It's definitely like an acknowledgement. So I don't know, maybe it's just the Queen of Wands is having that moment where she's not in the reverse anymore. Two of Pentacles. It actually feels like this clears the air between them. Like, then yeah, you should go. But that still doesn't track, because at the beginning it was like, I'm hiding it. Now maybe he's only hiding it from the family. Maybe he and the Queen of Wands in the reverse are reaching that point where we're like, hey, it's fine, you can go. Maybe they're going to take off, but they're going to keep that on the down low from like extended family, moms and pops. I don't want them to know we're breaking up. I don't want them to know I'm in love with somebody else. Maybe that's the other reason. It's like, I'd rather go get to the person that I actually love and bond to them. It keeps feeling, this, I'll be honest, this feels very, like the Romeo Juliet, like, I've been kept apart from, the person I want to be with. But let's keep in mind these are grown-ups. So, not that grown-ups don't have pressures and stuff put on them as well, but we definitely have seen some kind of prolonged, and I would say pretty empty connection that worked just fine for their karmic. But honestly, it doesn't look like their karmic is so awful after all, if they're like, I get it. Honestly, deep down, neither one of us wants to be together anymore. It worked. it worked really good for a while. I had my freedom from you, but also could refer to you as my partner. We could live our separate lives. But honestly, if you're in love with somebody else and that's what you regret, honestly, maybe I'm in love with somebody else too. It almost feels like this is getting balanced out between the two of them. So that doesn't seem like where the toxicity is or where the hidden energy is after all, which is all that's a big surprise. I have the Hermit. Yeah, I'm wondering if that Queen of Wands in the reverse actually held inside like how miserable she was too. Maybe that's why she was in the karmic energy. Not everybody who's like karmic, that just means stuck in a pattern. And maybe she was like, oh God, this is not what I want, but plaster on a smile and stay put. I've described her as being somebody that would be super selfish, but in truth, this is shifting and saying, I mean, maybe it was, but it almost looks like this big enlightenment where it's like, we really are not happy together, are we? You wish you were with somebody else. I'd rather be with somebody else too. We haven't been happy together in all this time. I just haven't said anything. It almost feels like this is a great, like, airing things out. So he is hiding this then. Who are you hiding this from? At first you were hiding it from the Queen of Wands. Now it's Three of Cups in the reverse. I'm hiding it from everybody. I don't want anybody to know. I don't want family. I didn't want anybody to know. So, and we saw that with the secrecy, with the Devil card whispered in an ear. He was just like going to tell one person. But all of this still confuses me because it's like, I know it's not the right time though, but I still want to race off and go get to this person, take this leap of faith and tell them I want to marry them. Even though we've already had the advice that says, whoa, you might want to start out with, hey, I'm sorry that I didn't think I could marry you before, but I really am an emperor and I want to be your emperor. Let's take a look at the person that they are so in love with, the one that they wish that they had married but didn't, or claimed that they couldn't, with that Empress that was in the reverse there. Tell us about her. We got the Temperance in the reverse. So on her side, she's like, oh, there was nothing about that balanced. Nothing. And it could have left her feeling very imbalanced, the whole situation. Inspiration of Wands. That's, just a little page of Wands. But an Ace of Cups and the Eight of Wands sideways. I do think that there was perhaps a moment where she realized this is not going to work, because even if I loved you huge, you loved me little. You loved me maybe just like a spark of, you thought I was hot. Look, a Page of Wands that's just the very little ember of something. And she's saying that doesn't equate to me offering my entire heart and soul, that Ace of Cups. And with the Eight of Wands sideways, I don't know. I think for her, she's like, it was not an equitable relationship. What I would have been willing to give to a partner is not where they were meeting me. And then whatever this pathway was, it was never certain that they were ever really coming toward me. Well, then, did you move on from this person? And like, because I don't quite picture her hanging out for forever thinking about this, but we have the Moon. Something here about the message from the ancestors. What did you get from your ancestors? What was it that your ancestors were? Ancestors were like, cut the cord, cut the cord. I needed to cut the cord. Okay, then did you? Were you able to walk away from this with that Eight of Cups? Six of Cups. Yes, for the time being, I let them go. If they're a soulmate, maybe we either finished our journey together and that's all it was supposed to be, or if something will change later, then maybe I'll hear from them again. But it just looks like she's like, yeah, I actually did. Because with the soulmate energy, and that's, a returning energy, it's like maybe you already got the full experience, or maybe there will be more later. But also we have more than one soulmate. So I'm thinking that she just chalked this up to, I don't know exactly why this happened, but my ancestors tell me, cut the cord and let this go. Let it be whatever it is. Don't live in this kind of disappointment with the inequality of this. Yeah, and I think she's moved on beautifully. We have a 10 of Pentacles. She got a wonderful, happy life support around her, friends, family. I don't know if she's in like another relationship at this point. Three of Cups, she's dating. She got somebody in her life. She may be like dating multiple people, just having a cup of coffee here, getting to know different people. It doesn't look very serious. It looks like she's actively dating. So for this individual who is finally, like, I really don't get what their holdup was. I really don't understand what his holdup was, why he didn't just gravitate to her before. And I feel like coming in now and being like, let's get married. Like, I've always known it was you. We should stay with this deck. How are you going to digest that if that's how he approaches? Hi, it's me. Want to get married? 9 of Cups. This could be like, well, he's really happy about this. But then we have a 5 of Cups in the present moment. This is really bittersweet. This is a blend of, like, she may be feeling some elation. She may realize he is also, but then there's this big sorrow, and it's very mixed energy in the same exact second, right? I'm so incredibly sad, and also, wow, if only, this is the words that would have been lovely to hear, especially if she was that in love with him. But it's also tremendously sad in this present moment. So let me ask this. Why is it tremendously sad in this present moment if he's coming and saying, I want to marry you? Because we got the King of Pentacles sideways, because I think that there's a significant doubt about whether or not this is a stable person. That's maybe the best way to say it. There's so much doubt about you being a stable person in my life. Kind of understandable. Can we just cut to the chase, though, and say, what was the foundational reason you didn't just like choose her before? I mean, we know there was, obviously that relationship that they were in, but if they can leave it now, why didn't they leave it before? 5 of Cups sideways. This person committed to suffering. It's like they met their unicorn, they met that amazing person, and then they said, I met the love of my life, and here I've got this situation and I can't be with him. So it's like almost like they just said, well, this is everything I've ever wanted, and because my life isn't perfect, I guess I can't have it. So it was just the commitment to the misery. I can't be with the person that I want to be with. I met the one, but unfortunately I'm already in a relationship. And with that 3 of Cups, I don't know, maybe they couldn't have changed things, because, sometimes we do have to wait till the landscape of the river changes, right? If they were way back here when they first met her and it's like, oh my God, I met this amazing empress, but I can't marry her. I'm already in this relationship. What the hell am I supposed to do? And it didn't even cross their mind that they could not be in that wrong relationship anymore. It takes maybe some effort, but obviously this is very doable because they're doing it now. But maybe the river had to flow. The river of life had to flow to this point. And then finally it's like, oh, wait a second. Here we go over the waterfall cliff now. Now my thoughts are racing. Now I can take action again. It does feel like either this just, it sounds so crazy, but it's like it didn't dawn on them. It was like, well, I guess I just get to suffer. 7 of Swords hints at that's not entirely true. There could have been a little bit of greed in here somewhere. What does that mean? 4 of Pentacles sideways. There's a reason that, remember, that was the first card out. There's a reason that they held back, in this case, from just moving forward with her. And the only reason I say there was some greed, or maybe there's a financial benefit, is because the serpent is there wrapped around the crow. The crow carries, an emerald in its beak. And it just makes me think that they were trying to quiet their inner voice and be like, well, I can't. I'm at the love of my life, but what am I supposed to do? And it's like their inner voice might have been like, well, you freaking make the changes that you need to make. And I think they tried to not listen to that. The transformation was right here, right? The snake is the truth and its transformation. but it kind of feels like this was like a tangled mess where they weren't being honest with themselves. And instead, they decided to wait. I don't know if that's, can we see the foundational reason why they decided to wait? Was it about money? Was it about judgment? There was something about the timing. This is a phoenix rising from the ashes. I don't know if this has some kind of connection to like they needed to feel like they were the phoenix rising from the ashes. They needed to feel like now I'm empowered enough to say I deserve to be with somebody that I love. I deserve to be happier. It doesn't look like it was about her. And it doesn't look like it was about, being controlled by the Queen of Wands. Because really, as we delved into this story, you notice that her, whatever toxic karmic behavior really softened to the point where she was just kind of like, oh, yeah, you can go. At first I was like, oh, she must be holding on tightly to them. And then it was kind of like, you'd rather be with somebody else. I kind of think I would too. Let's let each other go. So I'm wondering if this was like, I know we didn't see them in a toxic pattern, but this pretty much implies that's where they were, is in a toxic pattern that they themselves had to break, which was to say, why should I be telling myself I'm not allowed to make changes in my life to go and have great happiness? Why am I saying I found the thing, the person that I can't even believe I came across them, they're the best thing I've ever seen, but I'm not allowed to have them? Why? Who said that? Why did they believe that? And I'm wondering if it's because they had to finally say this, I don't need to feel bad about this. Even then, they're doing it in a sneaky way, though. So I'm wondering if there's like deeper things. Remember, this is about the murky energy, right? And I'm wondering if there's some deeper reason that, maybe they weren't permitted to choose their own life. Maybe they were raised and taught to like sacrifice themselves. Because this almost looks like their default was, I'm not allowed to have the person that I love, that I'm not allowed to. And then their breakthrough is they had to actually be that phoenix rising from the ashes and say, I'm allowed to. Yes, I am. The problem here is that, because it feels, what I'm really saying is there was no obstacle other than the one in their head. They didn't feel like they were allowed to just choose what they wanted and be empowered. Now they finally do. Okay, but let's take one last look and say, is that going to help or hinder their potential to be with her? Because she says, if they're showing up and asking me to marry them now, it's going to be joyful and sad at the same time, because I don't know what I think of them as a King of Pentacles. Two of Pentacles. This could be her hemming and hawing about whether or not she thinks that she would want this anymore. This could be, remember, she cut the cord. She does still love them the same way, even with all of her heart. But loving somebody who, obviously wasn't there in her world, this is a tough one, because what she's being asked to do is to completely just accept, forgive. We can say, okay, if he was raised to always sacrifice and his big hurdle was just the one in his mind of, if I love somebody, why can I not advocate for myself? If I'm with the wrong person, why can't I end that and then pursue the right person? But he just didn't, because he decided he wasn't allowed to, until now when all that changes. So we can say, well, we can have compassion for him because that was his, stumbling block in his mind, or perhaps because of the way he was raised or something. But let's not forget that at some point he basically said, I can't be with you, person that I love. And he made her feel like he wasn't that interested, because remember, she was Ace of Cups. He was the Page of Wands. So for him to come in now and be like, oh my God, no, I want to marry you, that might be a lot for her to wrap her head around. And I can see her juggling like, is it true that I maybe even still love him? Yes. Is it also true that I don't know that he's very stable? Because I don't get how you do that. How do you not choose the person that you claim you love? But also, he really didn't seem that into me, since he was only, he was so willing to let me go. And so he only treated me like I was nothing more than a page in his life. So there's a lot of wounds that are definitely, instead of being healed, they're being reopened. A lot of burdens, because remember, she cut the cord and moved on. So I think she's got the much tougher task here of trying to decide, what am I going to do about this? Hanged Man. And looking at this and saying, because this particular Hanged Man card can talk about somebody sacrificing themselves, martyring themselves. And she may be able to understand that. But at the same time, the martyrdom could be like, you martyred yourself, but you also treated me less than. Two of Swords, Princess of Swords. I think her like sticking point or the thorn in all this is like, you martyred yourself because you couldn't decide if I was worth it. You couldn't decide if I was worth picking. That Two of Swords, you had to sit and think about whether or not I was important enough. Set aside your martyrdom. What about me? Like, I'm sorry, but I think this is what she's trying to gather like thoughts on. And again, the guides are flying around her overhead. What are the guides saying this time? Oh no. Okay. I'm hoping that YouTube's going to be solid for us again. That was really buffering hard there for a bit. Okay. What I was going to say is, I think that the guides are saying to her, like, before she cut the cords and moved on and had a great, happy life. But at this point, the guides are saying, if you know that they martyred themselves and you know it was them being unable to choose their own happiness, you can't have a loving relationship with somebody else if you don't love yourself first, right? So in that case, even though I think it's fair for her to be like, so they had to think about whether or not I was enough. And the guides are saying that they had to think about whether they were enough to be able to choose their own happiness. Now, when it comes to you, what do you want? Because if you don't choose what you authentically want, then you're basically martyring your own self. So let's maybe not do any more martyrdom, because nobody ends up happy like that. I kind of think that is like, her point is valid about the question that she's asking, but I also think that that's maybe some pretty like sage or maybe more evolved way to consider this. Like, remember, it wasn't that they were trying to decide, were you enough to pick you instead of their martyrdom. Martyrdom is when somebody sacrifices their own self because they don't stand up for themselves. I mean, I'm using that one example, right? Martyrdom is oftentimes, that's not the way to look at it, but I do not like martyrdom at all. I don't like the fact that it's oftentimes held up like it's a good thing, or like, wow, that person, look at what they surrendered of themselves for the purpose, the cause, the greater good. I don't love it at all, because oftentimes, well, we don't need to go down Kate's crazy road, but I have a real issue with martyrdom, and I don't want to celebrate it because I don't think it's a good thing. But that's just my twist. Feel free to disagree. But this is such an interesting twist, because I think that the guides are making a very poignant point to her. Remember, they sacrificed their happiness, which was you. It wasn't that they weren't thinking about you. They literally, that's all they thought about. They thought they couldn't have happiness because you are that important. You were their happiness. So they were giving up. By not loving themselves enough, they were giving up the thing they wanted most, which was actually you. So it's the reverse of you not being important. You were the most important thing, but also the source of the martyrdom. Now, do you want to martyr your own self if you still love this person? And she seems to, with that Ace of Cups. Look, they're thought-provoking questions to ask. She gets to decide whatever she wants. If she does not want them back, that totally makes sense. But I could see how this could be explained in a completely different way, like we just have. And I'm like, okay, there's some point in that too. My first reaction is like, what the hell? But on the other hand, that like, well played, universe, you just made me have to think about it from a whole different spin. And I'm like, that's that's got some merit too. So whatever she chooses, she's got to pick what's right for her. If she still wants this person, by all means, don't cheat yourself out of what you want. That's the greatest summary here is this is a story about what happens when you don't like honor your own life and your own heart and your own wants, like you matter enough. You don't let yourself pick what you want. And I mean, come on, at the end of our lives, what is going to be the, you know, the summary of what we've chosen in our life? Are we going to be like, well, the person I wanted to be with, I never let myself be with them because, you know, I wasn't allowed to be happy. And aren't I proud of myself for that? Probably not. That's probably not going to feel awesome. So I think this is a good time to start, you know, like looking at what's authentic, what's true, what's real. This is not about a character who was supposed to be selfish. It's about a character who was supposed to be real with, you know, if they met the love of their life, which they did in her, but still felt like I'm not permitted to have met the love of my life. I don't even know. Maybe like being with a karmic was fine up until they met her. I mean, they certainly seem to have had like a, you know, a situationship that worked for the both of them that was ice cold, but she didn't want to be ice cold. So anyway, that was a lot to unpack. That got really long. You guys, thank you so much for being here. RS, yes, totally. Patricia Bucator, so good to see you, love. Cassandra Soros, Courtney Jade. Hi, Donnie Ford. Rach's Magic, good to see you. Madam D. Where is Mizuho? I have never heard of that place, Madam D. I'm going to have to look it up. Sweet, thank you again, hun. Intuitive Empress 111. Brooklyn, great to see you, hun. Champerson 79. Esmeralda. SM, nope. You're perfect. Hi, Mon. Walking Nat. Jeannie Vale, so great to see you. Denisa. RS, shout out to you in New York, my love. Samira, Nick. Oh, Madam D, you're in Tokyo. That's so exciting. Oh my gosh, have such a great time. I bet there's a lot to see. It looks like such a busy city and probably amazing food. Amani, Lauren.co, Rare Lestrange, Georgina Blackwell. Good morning, honey. Hi, Anna Mystic. Thank you, sweetheart. Right back to you. Cataclysmic Awakening, Ellie, Carrie Days, It's Pouring Rain, and the light. You were first in the house tonight. All right, you guys. Thanks so much. I will see you guys on the other side. I'm going to bounce over to Case Regardless Life, and we're going to get to our today's topic. We're going to do that one live. Hey, Dunks. LaRonda, Your Honor. Wonderful to see you. Julie Yates, hi. Oh, Madam D. It's suburban Tokyo. Okay, awesome. Near Yokota Air Base. Wonderful. Well, have a great time, sweetheart. All right, you guys. I'll see you on the other side. Thanks for giving it a thumbs up and subscribing. Bye.